Episode 436. The shopkeeper gave a nod. Seeing that Yi Shu wasn't going to make a purchase, he paid him no further mind. Outside the window, at the small table, Su Mucheng happily played with her ice cream, eating it with delight. Yi Shu sat quietly across from her, a cigarette dangling from his lips. The weather was cold, the ice cream was chilly, yet this familiar feeling felt exceptionally warm. Outside the Samsara arena, Chen Guo and Tang Ru finally made their way out as well. Chen Guo also had a telescope. She immediately raised it and scanned the area in all directions, but she couldn't find any trace of Ye Shu.
He's that fast already?
Chen Guo said. She and Tang Ru had rushed out pretty quickly.
He said he's heading back first.
Tang Ru said.
Let's go. Back to the hotel.
Chen Guo decisively flagged down a taxi. She and Tang Ru sped back to the hotel like the wind. Without even glancing at her own room, she went straight to knock on Ye Shu's door, but there was no answer.
Still not back? Where'd he run off to? Maybe she's just out for a stroll. Let's wait a bit.
Tang Ru opened the door to their room.
Is he really Yi Chu?
Chen Guo followed Tang Ru inside.
Resigned. Yes.
Tang Ru's reply was tinged with helplessness. This was the 7th time Chen Guo had repeated this question.
This guy.
Chen Guo muttered. She turned on the room's TV, tuned to the esports channel. The All-Star Weekend festivities were still going on, with pro players sitting on stage, just as before, accepting challenges from ordinary gamers. This time, there were no more surprises. The pro players easily defeated one challenger after another, but the atmosphere in the venue just couldn't heat up again. After that huge climax earlier, this little spectacle now held no excitement for anyone, except of course for the challenger who'd been picked to go on stage. Chen Guo stared at the TV, her eyes glazed over, her mind clearly a million miles away. Hearing some noise out in the hallway, he bolted over to check, only to find it wasn't Yi Shu at all.
Where on earth did he go?
Chen Guo muttered to herself, then grabbed her binoculars and peered out the window for a while. She checked the hallway next, and even knocked on the door across the way just to see if Ye Shu had somehow slipped back in without a trace. In between, she'd chatter away with Tang Ru about Ye Shu, her thoughts all over the place, never staying quiet for a moment. Chen Guo kept this up for a full hour. The second day of the All-Star Weekend on TV had already concluded, but there was still no sign of Ye Shu.
He doesn't even have a phone.
Chen Guo complained. The live broadcast of the event ended, and moments later, the post-Day 2 press conference began. There's really nothing to say about those games meant for public entertainment. The string of incidents during the challenge match was clearly the hot topic of the day. As one of the main figures, Du Ming was naturally sent to the press conference, where he was treated like a superstar, surrounded by a throng of reporters. Du Ming's mood had settled considerably by now. He was a pro player, after all. If he couldn't handle wins and losses, how could he possibly survive in this world? Losing to a regular player was embarrassing, sure, but winning 4 matches in a row afterwards, that proved something at least. Besides, that beauty's skill had already earned widespread recognition after the match. As for the second challenger who came later, while no one saw his true face, it was basically unanimously agreed that he was the great god Ye Chu. So, there wasn't really anything of value to be learned from Du Ming. Of course, it wouldn't be proper for him to appear ungracious at a moment like this. So he praised Tang Ru's skill and expressed his respect for the great master.
So, what are your thoughts on Ye Chu suddenly appearing at the All-Star Weekend?
The reporters asked this question to almost every pro player they managed to interview, and even conducted random interviews with quite a few audience members on site. The answers from the live audience, however, were bold and wildly creative. As for the pro players, they were all guarded and evasive, giving perfunctory answers. Of course, the reporters couldn't resist pressing Yi Chu's old teammates at Excellent Era for answers. The response from Team Excellent Era was lukewarm at best. Nothing but empty platitudes and meaningless chatter. As for Su Mucheng, who was closest to Ye Chu, she didn't even show up afterwards, and no one managed to get an interview with her. The real highlight, however, came during the interview with Han Wenqing. The famously domineering captain glared straight into the camera and said bluntly,
"I'll be waiting for you to come back."
That single line became the biggest takeaway from the many interviews, and most reports ran it as their headline. The media loved Han Wenqing's sensational take, eagerly speculating whether this was a sign of the great Ye Chu's intent to make a comeback, especially a move like Dragon Raises Its Head, which no one else in the alliance could replicate, and which even Ye Chu himself hadn't used in 2 years. To unleash it now was like a declaration to the world he wasn't finished yet. As a partial insider, Chen Guo felt a smug sense of superiority watching the bystanders and various media outlets speculate about Ye Chu's whereabouts and plans. As for the future that everyone was more concerned about, Chen Guo jumped up, clenched her fist, and declared,
I'm definitely going to get a straight answer out of him when he gets back.
She paced from the window to the door and back again. But as the evening wore on and Ye Chu still hadn't returned, Chen Guo began to feel a twinge of worry.
Hey, do you think he's not planning on coming back now that his identity's been exposed?
Tang Rou also paused for a moment.
No way? He hasn't even collected his first month's salary yet.
Even Chen Guo herself felt a pang of loss as she said those words. She suddenly realized that even though she couldn't immediately equate Ye Chu and Ye Shu as the same person in her mind, the thought of either identity, the lazy, infuriating guy, or the god she'd worshipped for years, just quietly leaving like this, it left a rather sour taste in her heart. Chen Guo suddenly fell quiet and silently sat back down on the edge of the bed.
He'll be back.
Tang Rou walked over quietly and offered a word of comfort. No sooner had the words been spoken than a commotion echoed from the stairwell, but Chen Guo's mood was different now. She just sighed and didn't make a fuss. But this time, the commotion grew closer and closer, until moments later, it stopped right outside their door.